When the Nets game is over, then I can come back on. And then we can hang.
And then I could be asleep.
No, you're not going to be asleep. You're going to be asleep at like 11 o'clock.
Dude, I get up at 6 o'clock.
I go to bed at 6. Like, what do you want from me?
Hey, how about this? I'll catch you on the other end. When I'm waking up. And you go up there.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on episode 57 of Cup of Joe's. I am Joe Brown. I am joined by my co-host Joe Perry. And Joe, it has been a ridiculously long time since we have recorded one of these, and you know that's on me, but it's also on you. But I'll say it's on me to make you feel better, but it's also on you.
First off, we both acknowledged that earlier. I don't know why you're saying it like that. We literally both were just like, before we even started, we're like, yeah, we got caught up in pandemicness and just trying to figure out what we're going to do with ourselves. And neither one of us were like, we should record a podcast in the middle of this. But instead, what happened is you continued to work and be the great man that you are, and I got a new job and moved to a different state that's a little bit closer to you. We're no longer in Texas, everybody. We've moved to a different state in North Crackalacky, as it's called. And it's what they call it. I'm not making it up.
No, I believe you.
Okay. Because someone told me they didn't believe me when I said that.
No, I believe it. It sounds fun.
And yeah, it is. But we're back. We're here. We're ready to make some content. And guess what? We're making this content E3 week, baby. Say it with me, Joe Brown. E3. There, I did it. E3.
I did it. E3. I did a pretty good mimic of you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so anyway, Joe.
So it's good to see you.
This is why we came back. Obviously, we're going to try to actually stay a little more committed to the schedule this time around. And we do have a couple of weeks kind of mapped out already. So hopefully that's a good sign. But Joe and I, for those of you who don't know, we're two best friends who also happen to be named Joe. And we love yelling at each other and playing video games. So that's what this podcast is about. And there's no better time to talk about video games than during E3. And what we had at the start of last week and going into this week was E3 2021, after a tumultuous year, to say the least, especially for all of us and everybody listening at home, but also the video game industry. And, you know, it was quite barren last year in 2020 for a lot of projects that were impacted by the pandemic and whatnot. So it was really nice to have E3 again, even though it didn't have the crowd. I don't really care about the crowd as much as I care about the games, you know what I mean, Joe? So it still had like the most important part of E3 came back this year.
I'm gonna give a hot take before we even get started about everything. Overall, maybe we'll just do our overall E3 analysis. Overall, for me, it was okay, but I don't know. I think we're definitely moving away from E3. We're definitely moving to smaller conferences of Microsoft and Bethesda and Sony doing their own things and not doing this, because this year there were too many conferences. There were too many things that were not necessarily needed. I think me and you might have touched on this before, talking about it earlier this week when we were watching it. It's just I don't know. Just too much.
It's too much to cover. For me. It was way too much to cover. It's information, whatever the phrase is, sensory overload or whatever. You had so many conferences back to back to back over a 4-day stretch, and sometimes you saw an indie game that was cool on Saturday, and then by the time you saw it 2 more times, when Monday ended, you're all right, now I don't care about this indie game. It was just way too many things, and I wish I guess this was, to me, like, and I'll piggyback off of your like topic of too many things going on. My issue with E3 overall this year was it seemed like everybody wanted to jump back in because they were so excited about having the prospects of a showcase again since they missed it last year, which is understandable. But like,
Yes.
because everybody jumped in, then it made things stand out less. You know what I mean? And it was just like walls and walls of lists of games that I've never heard of and I'm never gonna play, and it just like saturated the weekend instead, which I think is probably a good thing that there's too many games, but at the same time it becomes overbearing at a point that like I can't even remember some of those cool games that I saw because there was 15 other games in 10 minutes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like that was an issue. And like a lot of the big hitter games that they talked about, like I guess to like jump in, let's start off with the one that began the entire E3, which was Ubisoft. Like like the games, their like spearheader game that they were going to talk about was gonna be what is it? Far Cry 6. That's the next big title they have coming out within the next 5 months. 2021, it's still in the 2021 range. And like they had already announced it. They had already dropped the trailer, and they had already opened pre-orders. Like it wasn't a reveal. Like if they had saved everything for E3, then it would have been a little bit better. But since we already saw everything for it, like man, I pre-ordered that collector's edition like a week before E3. Like that's not. And then you're gonna show it again at E3. There's like no update to it as well. Like
Well, they did
a lot
show
of
the
these.
villain DLC thing from the season pass. He plays the villains.
Okay, yeah, that was cool. That
So
was
there
cool.
was an
I will say,
update. There was a new cinematic trailer that they also showed.
but there was I don't know. To me, it just didn't seem like there was a ton more information besides that season pass thing, and that's where I think a lot of this stuff fell off this year. Is there were just like it was just like here's a game trailer, it's coming in like 2022, or here's a game trailer, and then there was no like follow up to it. Like there's no like game explanation to some of these newer things that we didn't know about. Like the ones we did know about, there was, but there's no follow up to a lot of it.
Right.
But like,
So that's what I wanted to ask you, Joe. So thank you for leading off with Ubisoft, because that was the question. Like when we were talking back and forth, it's like, all right, I'll save this for it. When we look at E3, because a lot of people like felt like Ubisoft was a waste of time, and then a lot of people were very upset at Square and hated. It's kind of ridiculous the takes that are going online about like how offensive Square's press conference was, which I think is ridiculous, but everyone just likes to dogpile on the internet, so I get it. So when I watched the Ubisoft one, what my initial thoughts were, except for Riders Republic, which I actually thought looked really cool, and then what was it, the Rainbow Six, like the zombie looking game, whatever that was. Most of the Ubisoft games, I'm like, these are games I'm not interested in, but I think this is a really cool press conference, and I think they've shown a lot of stuff. And
yes,
my question to you is, when you're doing an E3 event, are you supposed to cater to all of gaming as a whole because the whole gaming world is watching? Or are you still catering to your audience? Because Ubisoft and Square Enix, to the same effect, have a gaming sphere, a group, a niche market, whatever you want to call it, where there are Ubisoft's like marketplace gamers. You know what I mean? Like where they play Assassin's Creed and they play Far Cry and they play, all of these other games where they play a lot of Ubisoft games the way that I play a lot of Nintendo games or a lot of Square Enix games. So like if you look at it from that sense, the Ubisoft marketplace seemed like it has a lot of stuff coming to it, and if I was a Ubisoft like fan, I think that's good. But if you're looking from the grand scale of this is millions of gamers around the world watching your event, and it's supposed to appeal to more than just your Ubisoft hardcore fans, then that's where it like kind of loses me. So that's where I want to ask you that question: is what is the point? Is this supposed to appease the people you already know are giving you money, which I think Ubisoft did a very good job of, or are you supposed to like get other people invested in Ubisoft, if you get what I mean?
I think I do. And I guess my answer to you is I feel like Ubisoft kind of still did that. Like Ubisoft gave you these new titles that they're coming out with. Rainbow Six Extraction isn't necessarily like it's an Ubisoft game, but it's not like people love that game. That game, remember how we talked about that game like when we first started that podcast, and we were both surprised how it was still being played. And look, it has a new, well, this is actually a standalone title from it. But like people love this game, and why wouldn't Ubisoft like cater to that? Like that's why wouldn't they cater to their fan base? And like I guess that's the whole thing. I guess it could be similar to like going to a concert, maybe. Like, does the band like appease their fans, or do they appease the whole music industry? With like, I know it's kind of a little different because you have to go to the concert, where this is like an online presence, but like you didn't have to watch the Ubisoft conference. Like, and you watched it because
that's why I think they did a great job, Joe, because I'm not a big Ubisoft fan. I can't even remember the last game that I've played that they put out. But when I watched that, I was entertained, and I could see myself, if I was a fan of all of the games that they made, like, I can say, like, wow, there's a lot of Ubi games that I'm going to be playing over the next year that I'm really excited about. You know what I mean? So I could see that mentality the way that I am excited about the games that Square was showing off. Like, because I saw so many people on the internet like dogging on it, saying like it was just whatever, it was just the same thing. But like they showed off the Assassin's Creed DLC, and that they were still committing to making Valhalla better, and not going back to the old pumping out AC games every year thing. So like that was good news. Like the Extinction, the Riders Republic, the Mario Rabbids. Like it's like if I'm a UB fan, I think they did a great job. And I guess that's the weird disconnect between the actual customers that enjoy your marketplace and the overall perception of the gaming world.
Well, and my other thing that I'm going to say, that I know I made the comment about like not getting some new information and stuff about certain games that Ubisoft was talking about, especially like specifically Far Cry 6, but like the way they did most of their other stuff, like the Rainbow Six Extraction, they gave us a trailer, they gave us a little bit of the story, and then they literally showed us gameplay. They explained mechanics, like you saw the game, and like that was great. And the guitar, what is it? Not the guitar, Rocksmith Plus. They showed that, and like that's a new thing that I've never heard of. And they showed how it works. They showed what it does. They showed what you can do. Like Riders Republic, same thing. They showed gameplay. They explained stuff. It's like, it was just like they were in it to show you all of the stuff they've been working on and give you more information about the stuff they've been working on. Like they dropped like 3 brand new titles, and they explained them. Like they showed stuff and they went into detail about stuff, which was great. Like, I don't know. That's like, I wish more of the conferences that happened this weekend were like Ubisoft. Like if Microsoft had done a lot of what Ubisoft did in their conference with Bethesda, like that would have been great. Like just like to quickly jump to Microsoft, they started off by talking about
Starfield.
Starfield.
Or that one, yeah. I said Starfall, sorry.
They literally just showed us a trailer. People have been dying to know more about this game. And they just showed you a trailer, and they're like, well, see you in 2022, November 2022. It like more than a year away.
Didn't they also show us like a ham sandwich or whatever that had a bite into it?
Oh, yeah. They showed us like a picture of a ham.
That was pretty cool, Joe.
Yeah, it was cool. But once again, like no one knows what's going on in this game. What is happening? Like, give me something to keep me interested to next year. Like, next year. Like, I have to wait until next E3 or whenever Microsoft and Bethesda decide they're going to start launching stuff. But, going back to what you said, I think Ubisoft did well for what they were going to do. And the gaming world is now saturated with all these people that think they know what's good in gaming when they don't. Like us.
Right.
We know what's good in gaming, but we don't. It's just our opinion. So take it if you want it. Um
Well,
is,
so then let's transition to Microsoft and Bethesda, Joe, because that would be, I would say, most people's consensus for the the E3 winners or the best press conference, or like the. I think I'd probably agree with it. Maybe you don't, but I say we switch over to that because I'll give you the floor for it because you obviously like Bethesda, a lot. I think the absolute, like, just like flop it out and plopping it on the table, like, power move of starting with Bethesda and Todd Howard and being like, yes, we Bethesda is Microsoft gaming world. Like, you can suck it. They gave us all this money, all these games. By the way, Starfield is going to be Microsoft exclusive as well. Like, I was surprised at that because I didn't know how games currently in development would be impacted with the buying, because there were still stories about how some games, because they were so close to when the acquisition happened, they were still releasing on PlayStation and stuff like that. So the fact that Starfield is Xbox exclusive and all of the Bethesda future games, I think for the most part, unless I'm misremembering, are going to be Xbox exclusive or Microsoft because you get it on the PC. I thought
yeah.
that was a gigantic power move, and the biggest complaint we've had about Xbox for more than half a decade now, Joe, as gamers and people who enjoy watching E3, is where are the games? And I think they did a fantastic job in that conference of saying, like, there is no gaming drought at Microsoft anymore. All of these companies that we bought, like, the last 3+ years, are making great games, and here are a lot of them. So I think Microsoft, like, really nailed it this year, because now we can't say, oh, it was cool, but I wish they had games to show up, because they're actually showing games off now.
No, yeah, definitely. Like, starting off with Todd was a big power move. Like, oh my goodness, Mr. Howard at the Microsoft conference. Okay, come on into my home. Come on into my home again, Mr. Howard. I would love to have you here. I love seeing you. And, like, starting off with Starfield was crazy. Like, to have, like, as much as I bashed on it before, not finding out or getting much information about it, it was crazy that they had something, because whenever Bethesda, like, oh, we're working on something, and then we never see it for like 5 years, and they're like, oh, hey, remember this game we mentioned 5 years ago? Here it is. So it
Right.
was cool to see that. Like, once again, we're looking at Halo. We don't have a release date. We have a released time period, but no date yet after they delayed it,
I'm very excited
which
for
was
Halo. That's one of my games, like, top takeaway games of E3. Like, I was already super amped for it, so I don't know if it's really fair, but what they showed off in the thing, and then they had like a 12-minute developer video on YouTube the next day. Like, I'm like, whew, Halo's looking good, Joe.
I need to watch that video. I need to look at a lot of the stuff that came out later. Then we have like some other games that I don't really care about. I don't. Joe Brown, do you care about Forza or
No,
Stalker? All right, they
no. I
they
mean,
announced
the
those
only thing
games.
exciting about the Forza and racing games in general is it seems like I was having this conversation with my friend, was like, what's great about these early portion of the generations, like, life sports games, is that it pushes the technology and the visuals so much for what that console can do. If you go back to, like, Gran Turismo on PS3 and, like, the racing games on Xbox One and stuff like that, is it really sets the groundwork for what can happen in the latter portion of the console's life cycle, if you understand what I'm saying. So I think that's
Mhm.
exciting to see what the Forza developers can do now in the second year of this console generation, and how they can take that to the other Microsoft studios and really enhance other future projects. That's the only thing that excites me about Forza.
Yeah, like, yeah, I can understand that because they're pushing different things. I have no idea. It's just I'm never that really interested in it. But what else we got? We got Back for Blood. I'm pumped for that.
No, thank you.
The you weren't a fan of Left 4 Dead?
I'm scared. No, I'm scared. I remember playing in high
Okay.
school in a basement in pitch black with like super like stereo sound like maxed out, and I'm still
Yeah.
scarred to this day, honestly.
I'm excited about it. Sorry, Joe Brown.
It's okay.
Um, then we the Sea of Thieves expansion, A Pirate's Life with Jack Sparrow in it.
That was pretty spicy.
That
That
looks
was a
pretty
cool
cool.
reveal.
I was kind of like, maybe, and I was like, I don't think, maybe, nah. And then we had Far Cry. They showed a Far Cry again. Then we had that 12 minutes game that we've been seeing several times over the past few years, which looks really cool to me. Where
Yep.
I still am kind of confused. Where it launches in August. I didn't know that. I totally missed that. Oh my God! I also didn't know that. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna definitely get this game. I guess I definitely missed that James
Yeah,
McAvoy
in Days
was
of
in
Ridley,
it.
yeah. They're the voices.
First
yeah.
off, yeah, it's great. That's great that they're both in there. But are we not going to talk about my good man, William Dafoe?
Well,
Is also in that game?
Well, it's Willem Dafoe. He's in
Oh,
it. William
I'm
is
sorry.
not. I don't know where William's at.
Willem.
Yes.
I don't know who William Dafoe even is, but Willem Dafoe is in the game. And that's what I'm pumped.
All right.
It looks very good. I'm very excited about it. And then we have probably the most honest trailer that was at E3, which was Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, with like they were gonna show. Look at all these lens flares or whatever. They're like, here's this cool
Lens flare.
cinematic that's not even a part of the game. Like, oh my god, that was so funny.
It was a great trailer. It's very funny that they're like, we don't even know what this game's about yet. Bye.
Yeah, that was great. So we don't have. I don't think we have to go like one by one through the games.
We gotta go. We gotta hit one more game.
Okay.
We gotta hit one more game. I think you know what I'm gonna talk about.
Yes, go ahead. Because then I also have one more point too on Xbox after that. So
Redfall. Oh my god, I was excited, and I didn't even know about this game. It's so cool looking. I want to hunt vampires with my robot friend.
Did you play Dishonored and Prey? Because that's the same studio that's making Redfall.
Yeah, I played. I love Arcane Studios. They make great games.
So I was not as excited about Redfall as everybody else. I also like in the minority thinking it was odd to end on Redfall instead of Starfield or Halo, which were like more known commodities at this point. I'm not saying it was a wrong decision. I just thought it was more odd to end on that. And it was like it was off the heels of seeing Rainbow Six Extinction or Extraction, whatever it's called, the zombie one, and Extraction, thank you. And Back for Blood, and like all these other like games that Redfall made it really seem. Apparently it's not like that. It's not like a Left 4 Dead looking game, but that cinematic made it kind of seem like it was. So in the moment I was like, oh, this just looks like another Back for Blood, Rainbow Six Extraction, whatever. So I was not too hyped about it, but I could understand why you would be.
I thought it was. I just wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be like a good story game. Oh wait, we got to talk about this one. One more game that I want to talk about that I totally missed over. That I can't remember which conference it was at, but it was definitely at the Gearbox one. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yes,
I'm pumped.
And it was at Summer Games Fest as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably the only good thing that came out of the Gearbox. That was a waste of 30 minutes. That was awful.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Okay, so let me talk about the other point real quick. Unless you had another point on Redfall.
No, I'm good. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. No.
So the other thing that I did, like, if you remember, Joe, people can go back to listen to our, year-old episode now. I think it was either the last time or the second to last time we talked. There was the Xbox showcase before they even showed off the Series X, remember? And I think it was in May or June or something like that last year.
Really?
And it was showing off the Xbox Series X and the games and things. And remember, one of the complaints I had was everything was dark and everything was bloody and everything was gory and everything was like super mature. at the time that they revealed. And what I liked about Xbox this time around, one, they have a lot more games because they bought Bethesda and they bought like 12 studios over the last couple of years to show off more games. But there was a wider variety of games. Like they have Psychonauts 2 is an in-house game now. They had that, what was it called? Like, it was called like Grounded or something that kind of looked like Bug Snacks a little bit. You know what I mean? Where it was like a lot of cute creatures. You had the Slime Ranchers 2. Like, so they had more general appeal of gaming audience than just like, this is the look at all of the pixels that's in this drop of blood coming out of this zombie's mouth, like, you know, trying to show off the hardware. They had a much better array of games this time around, which I think should also be complimented.
Yeah, they did they did a good job from what I think they did a pretty decent job at what they were trying to show. But yeah, what is your next?
All right, so
next topic,
so
Joseph.
Let's get Square over with here, because everyone and their mother just started dogging on Square Enix's press conference, and I kind of, it's obviously I'm a huge Square fan, so I'm not coming from an unbiased perspective here, and I'm not even gonna pretend like I am. You know what I mean? But the question that I asked you before of how you present your information at the event, like, I'm a part of that Square ecosystem. I play a lot of their games. So when they have an event and many of those games appeal to me as I'm one of the people they're trying to market to, I found Square Enix's press conference to be very enjoyable, where the regular world are like, wow, this was embarrassing. This is the worst conference out of all of them by far. Like, it was so stupid. It was so bad. Every game looked terrible. Like, why waste our time? They shouldn't have had a conference. Like, I was completely opposite, where when they started with Guardians of the Galaxy for like 18 minutes, it was moving beautifully. It never felt like it dragged. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. I wish we even got even more, and we got the release date and everything. Like, I was super excited for that. And they show off a bunch of Final Fantasy games, and I get that the one guy kind of looks like, you know, Paul Walker or Eminem or whatever, so he doesn't look like he fits in a JRPG setting or whatever. But like, overall, I, as a big Square Enix fan, was very satisfied with that press conference, understanding what I was going to expect there, considering they just had like a Square showcase, I want to say in May, maybe it was April, but they just had a Square showcase within the last maybe month or month and a half that showed off a lot of things. So it's not like there was going to be a lot of additional stuff. Like, I'm bummed we didn't get Final Fantasy 16 news, you know. Obviously, I wasn't expecting Kingdom Hearts 4 or anything. That's going to be super far off. But overall, I really like Square's event. So what did you think, Joe?
Yeah, they did pretty well. They had like that big title, the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, and they showed a lot about that, which was really good. I really was excited about that, and it made me very excited to get that game. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't remember a lot else from Square, mainly because I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of their games, which is blasphemous across most of the internet.
No, it's fine.
But from what I remember, they did a pretty good job, and I don't understand why people are getting so upset about it. Like, I don't know what else you wanted from them. Like, if we're gonna dog on anybody, let's dog on Capcom. Like, let's talk about that for 5 seconds. Like, as much as they talked about Resident Evil and all the stuff coming from that. Resident Evil, here's the stuff you already know. We're making DLC. Let's talk about Ace Attorney for 25 minutes
with Herlock Sholmes in it.
Like, oh my god!
Stupid
but like,
name.
Square Enix did fine. Like, they did great. They did what they came to do, which was show you the games that they're working on and bring you the information that you want about the games that they're working on.
Yeah, and I think they appealed to their consumer base, which is like, did they win anybody? I think they won people over with Guardians. I'll say that. I would say people who aren't Square fans were super pumped about Guardians. Did they win people over about like some Final Fantasy 1 crossover with Brave X Virus Mobile or whatever the hell you said, however you say that? No. But I thought Guardians was a universal success through through most people's eyes. And the only like blunders I have or issues I have is there's some poor communication, which is not surprising when you look at Square. So like they showed off Marvel's Avengers Black Panther expansion and then didn't say that it was coming in like August, which you would think is a pretty important thing to point out when the DLC is coming, considering it's that close. And then the other 2 points are the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. I'm like fairly certain, unless I'm just crazy and misremembering it, I'm fairly certain they showed that off at the showcase the last time around, or at least announced that they were remaking or remastering the older Final Fantasy games for Steam and mobile. So then they just showed it again and then didn't give a release date on it or like anything special with it. And then the other one with Life is Strange True Colors, which I am like over the moon excited to play. They showed us that release date at that showcase a little while ago, and so then this one having the release date, that wasn't new information. They showed off some new gameplay or whatever, but like it didn't. I feel like the previous event showing off Life is Strange actually showed more information on the game than this E3 one did, which you would think it'd be the other way around because now you're closer to the release date, so you'd want to show off more. So I was a little disappointed with that for how much they focused on the original Life is Strange remaster in that event compared to True Colors. Like, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't you be like, well, we know people are going to buy the remaster, so let's pump up True Colors, instead of, well, we know people are going to buy True Colors, so let's pump up the remaster? Like, that was a confusing, like, marketing strategy for me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was weird that they showed more of the original than they did of the new one, which was confusing. Yeah. But like I said earlier, I think they did a good job for what they were trying to do and like their whole showcase. I'm sorry, Joe Brown, I don't have much to add to the Square Enix conversation because
I could go super long on Square. That's why we don't need you. I just, I was very like Legend of Mana is coming in June. I didn't know that was coming in June. I knew they were remastering it, but I didn't know that was so soon. They showed the Nier franchise getting mobile games, and then I think a lot of people zoned out from that mobile section of the Nier mobile game, the Hitman mobile game, the Brave Exvius, whatever Final Fantasy mobile game. Like, there was a lot of mobile garbage that people don't care about back to back to back. And then when they ended with that, hold on, I'm looking at it. The Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which is a ridiculous name, and if you're used to Square at this point, you understand that they come up with ridiculous titles for their games. I think people were expecting the game to be something else than it was, so it's getting dinged on something that it wasn't trying to be. Like, there were rumors that there is this new Dark Souls Final Fantasy game. That was the rumor. And that was like the leaks and people, show footage or whatever. It's being made by Team Ninja, who made Neo 2 for, I think that was Foursquare as well. And it had more of like a Devil May Cry feel to me than it did Dark Souls. So I can understand that people were upset that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. But then again, it was never like fully revealed for what you thought it was going to be. So how can you hold that against it? You get what I'm saying, Joe?
Yeah.
So, I totally get that the main protagonist looks like a dork. Like, he just looks like Paul Walker in Fast and Furious. I get it. But they also, bad communication, which is Square's specialty, didn't show what they showed later on, that, like, the, like, plain black t-shirt he's wearing in the trailer is not really what he's wearing in the game, because there's, like, armor pieces and different outfits that you wear. So, like, he's really not wearing that base outfit that they showed in the game. And if he wore more, quote-unquote, like, traditional Final Fantasy attire, people wouldn't have complained as much.
Yeah. I did see a lot of people going after that dude who's like, a black t-shirt? What?
Yeah.
all these other guys look crazy. This guy's wearing a black t-shirt. What?
Yeah, they were like, why do the three main characters look like they're from three different games? Which is pretty accurate.
That's fair.
All right, so what do you want to move on to next, Joe?
Well, we could continue on and on about all the games that came out and continue to talk about all of the other press conferences and about all that great stuff. But I think the one thing I want to ask you, Joe Brown, is I have a list here,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you if you would have loved or not loved to have seen it at E3 this year.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of debate about people wanting to see some of these games.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. We can expand upon it during it, but for now, I'm ready.
Okay. First one. I didn't expect this to be the first one, but we're going to hit you with it. First one. Pokemon. Nothing about Pokemon was mentioned out of the 3 games that are coming out at one point this year. We have the 2 remakes that are coming out in, I think, November. And then we have Pokemon Legends.
In January.
And there was no mention of any of it.
And then now we have Pokemon Unite coming out in July. And we now have that information, which wasn't a part of E3.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll try to give the short of it here because I could go off on a very long tangent. So there's a difference between when people say, they say Pokemon is never at E3, and then people say, no, Pokemon is always at Nintendo's E3. And both of those statements are correct, which is confusing. So Pokemon typically, at least since like 2013 or something with X and Y, for the most part, they've revealed information in their own Pokemon Directs, and many times it comes in June. Like we had a Sword and Shield Direct in June, the last 2 Junes, like one for E3 and then one last year about the DLC. So it's so like when Pokemon is marketing their own games and they're giving the updates, and then they're being a part of E3 and the Treehouse Live and everything because Nintendo is intertwined with Pokemon and the Pokemon Company, like there's a lot of crossover there. I was not expecting anything Pokemon in this E3 because it was just the event. It was just the 40-minute Nintendo Direct. You know what I mean? Like usually Pokemon's there. They'll have stuff like, but there was no show floor. There was the Treehouse Live was only a couple hours this year instead of like 3 full days. Like if you remember a couple years ago, they revealed the original like the National Dex Apocalypse that not every Pokemon was going to be in Sword and Shield. That was at E3 in an interview during Treehouse Live. So because there was no live event aspect of it, I was understanding that Pokemon probably wouldn't be a part of it, and they usually do have an update in June. I don't know if that's for shareholder reason or if they just think it's a smart marketing tool since their game comes out in the fall to talk about it in the summer. So I was totally fine with Pokemon not being there, and people will probably kill me for that, and they say Pokemon should have been there, but I did not have a problem with it.
Right. Hot take Joe Brown. Thank you. Next on the list, we're moving right along. Elder Scrolls, the newest version of Elder Scrolls, which is Elder Scrolls 6. Were you wanting more?
So, did I want something, or was I surprised it wasn't there?
Both.
Okay. I wanted something, but I was not surprised it wasn't there because I would think that when they just showed us a mountain in a font of Elder Scrolls 6, I'm like,
they got nothing.
I don't even know if they got like, anything going on for this game yet, except for this mountain.
I was like, they got that. That's it. Someone drew that real quick before the conference started and put it in. It's like, show this to them.
And now the fact that Starfield is coming out at the end of 2022 and they said supposedly it's after Starfield means I think Elder Scrolls 6 is, I always want to call it Skyrim 6, which it's not, obviously. Elder Scrolls 6 is far off, like 2023. I would, if I was a betting man, I would say 2024. So I think they probably like cannibalized themselves trying to market Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 at the same time. So I think it was good that it was not there.
Fair. All right, Joe Brown, I need you to hold on to your butt for this one because I know this one's going to hit you a little.
Oh, God.
Can you guess the one I'm about to tell you?
Is it Kingdom Hearts 4?
No.
Is it Final Fantasy 16?
Okay, no. It's Metroid 4.
Oh, no. Whoa. So remember, Joe, like it was like a year and a half ago or something that they came out and said that they were starting development from scratch and
Mm-hmm.
like they were just not happy with it at all. So I was not surprised it wasn't there. I'm bummed out it wasn't there, but I'm not actually bummed out because instead we got the greatest news of all time that they're actually making Metroid Dread in the first, new 2D Metroid game in 19 years, and it's actually being made by Mercury Steam, who are the ones who made the Samus Returns remake on the 3DS, and that was a fantastic game. So I love Nintendo actually trusting other developers with their IPs. Like you had who's that indie company that made the Cadence of Hyrule game? Like they.
Oh yeah, they made the what is the other one? Cadence Hyrule, and they made another one that just like it.
The Krypton Necro Dancer, right?
Echo the Necro Dancer, yes.
Right. So like Nintendo gave them Zelda to an indie company. You know what I mean? So like Mercury Steam proved that they could make a solid 2D Metroid with the Samus Returns game, and then Nintendo gave the keys to the car again on like the next series, which is the end of the Metroid saga, quote unquote, whatever that means. So I was ecstatic for that, and I am, I don't care about Metroid Prime in those like the first person Metroid games as much as I do about the 2D Metroid. So no, I'm not bummed at all, and I don't think we're going to see Metroid Prime stuff for a while.
Okay. I have a feeling you're not going to know what this game is. Bright Memory Infinite.
I am not familiar, Joe.
It was a game that they showed at E3, I guess 2 years ago now. It was like really futuristic looking. It was just a game that they showed real quick in the Microsoft one. They haven't showed anything since. Moving along. Everwild. I am unfamiliar with this game, but it looks like they showed it in 2019 again.
Yeah, I think that one they said it's like in development hell or something. Like it's not coming out for like even to like 2024 or something.
Possibly, it's being made by Rare Studios.
Right.
They have no concrete idea what the game is or what it's about. Microsoft didn't even mention it at E3 games. Perfect Dark.
That was a shocker. I really thought we were getting Perfect Dark information.
Yeah, so didn't hear anything about that. I'm still unsure about Perfect Dark. I need to go back and look. Another one close to you, Mr. Brown. Splatoon 3 was. Were you shocked or surprised that nothing was talked about?
I totally forgot, honestly. Totally forgot that. So that means it's not close then, if they didn't show it off. That means that's definitely a next year title.
This is true. This is possibly true. Next up, something that I forgot about, but then surprised when I read something, and it reminded me about it. Senua's Sage, Hellblade 2.
Yes, that was a surprise that was not there.
Surprised that wasn't there. And then I think we and you briefly discussed this, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Nothing was shown.
I think it's like inexcusable at this point to not even just have a JPEG every year to remind people to show that it's in development. Like, how long ago did Joseph Gordon-Levitt try to get us to sign up for that company, and I could like make a logo and have it as graffiti in the game or whatever? Like that was a while ago, Joe.
2017, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's inexcusable out of Ubisoft to like, unless the project's dead and they don't want to say anything, not even have like just a little 10-second thing like, hey man, we're still chugging along over here. That's bad. That's probably the biggest glaring omission from the whole weekend for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, I could go the rest of my life never seeing Bayonetta again, so I'm fine.
Fair. Avoid.
I'm not familiar.
Avioid. I don't know. I'm also unfamiliar. Obsidian put it out at one point. Then we got Fable. There was no Fable.
That's the one I was waiting for. I was stunned that there was no Fable at that press conference.
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to be there?
I thought they were going to mention something.
I thought they were going to end. Once I saw they started with Starfield and then in the middle had Halo, those are the two in my brain that I thought would end the show. So I'm like, oh, they got to have something for the end. And so I started hyping myself up. I'm like, it's Fable. They're going to have Fables at the end. And then it was a letdown.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm also reading this list for the first time, and this one has genuinely got me. There is still no discussion of Waluigi and Smash.
As there should
Joe Brown,
be.
I was gonna say, everybody, Joe Brown is laughing. You just can't hear him for some reason, but I can see him physically laughing on the camera.
As he should not be discussed. Waluigi.
Then there was Forspoken, which I don't remember seeing, but it's a game from I thought you would maybe hear this one's from Square Enix. It's their big action RPG that was planned to come in 2022.
I don't know.
Okay, moving along. Then I think you've mentioned this, Final Fantasy 16.
Yes, I know it hasn't been long, but that doesn't mean I didn't want it. I didn't yearn for more information, Joe.
Yeah. Then there was another game called Skull and Bones, I believe, was the pirate fighting game that we saw alongside a bunch of other pirate fighting games that were
that one E3,
revealed.
Yeah.
That one E3. So there was nothing about that.
If that game's even still coming out at this point.
Yeah, if that game's still even coming out. This one upset me is we didn't see any more about Deathloop. I've been excited about that game. We didn't see anything about that, but I think that Bethesda was crunched for time, being mixed in with Microsoft. So they wanted to get their best and brightest out. I think Deathloop comes out at some point this year. I gotta double check. Oh, it's out this September.
There you go.
There you go. Oh yeah, I was upset about this one, Ghostwire Tokyo, but that's a Sony thing. I was upset we didn't see anything about that. Do you care any about that, Mr. Brown? No? All right, moving along. Pragmata. I don't know if you remember this one. I don't know if anybody else remembers this one. It's the one with the dude who looks like he's in a spacesuit following a girl and a cat in a city.
Yes. Now that you say it, I remember it, yeah.
That would have been cool if Capcom at least touched on that one in their conference instead of like...
They were busy.
Yeah. Hemlock Holmes. And that's the end of my list. So those were some of the games that people were talking about that they wish they had saw.
So what was your biggest one that you were bummed wasn't there?
Well, I guess I got two. I guess it's Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, but Deathloop is coming out in like a few months, so I guess I'm not that bummed about it. But Ghostwire Tokyo is pretty... I kind of want to see more about that one, and because that game looks cool. That game looks real fun. That was like one of the things I was like, that's why I need a PS5 is because of that game.
All right, I respect it. Yeah.
What about you?
I would say Final Fantasy 16, which I just wanted news on, and then bum/shocked. I was the most bum/shocked that Fable was not there.
Yeah.
So. All right, Joe. Let's get to it. Let's close this out with the real. Let's close this out with the real winner of E3. Okay? Can we just talk about this? E3 overall, Microsoft did really well. Ubisoft did well. Everyone dogged on Square. There was 8 million indie press conferences with like too many games that I saw way too many games of to keep track of. Although I did write down some indie games that I'm excited for.
Me too.
But at the time, if you went into Monday night / Tuesday morning, the consensus opinion was that E3 was a letdown this year. And then when you got to Tuesday morning, baby, it wasn't a letdown anymore because Nintendo saved E3. I'm saying it, Joe. They absolutely pulled E3 out from the trash can and, put it back up on the mantle with Metroid Dread and Breath of the Wild 2 and other things that I can't remember because I'm too excited about. I thought the Kazuya in Smash was whatever. Super Monkey Ball, Mario Party Superstars coming out. There was a new WarioWare. Shin Megami Tensei was announced like 5 years ago and it's coming out in November finally. It was just magical, Joe. There's no other way to put it.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong.
You guys can't see it listening at home, but I literally wore my Metroid shirt today so that Joe could see it because we were going to talk about Metroid. And when I went to GameStop today to pre-order the collector's edition, I felt like the biggest loser in the world because I imagined the lady behind the counter was just like, does this guy just wear Metroid stuff every day? Go to store and like get pre-order Metroid games? Like I was like very self-conscious that I was wearing a Metroid shirt as I was pre-ordering a Metroid game.
There you go, man. There you go. Yes, you're right. Nintendo did pull it, did pull a good one. But I think Devolver also pulled a good one this year. They always seem to pull a good one this year.
That's true.
They showed some very interesting games, especially Wizard with a Gun, and Encryption looks really cool. They had some good ones, but Disney. Oh my God, Disney. What am I talking about? Nintendo really pulled it close this year with all of their cool games that they have coming out.
The one that I will say from Devolver that got me was I'm looking at, was it Demon Throttle, where it looked like 8-bit and the guy, and it was like a cowboy and he was like, that demon kissed my wife. Devolver just gets it, man. I think they finally, the fact that they didn't need to have it like longer, like on a stage, I know it's pre-recorded anyway, but they used to be on a press conference stage before this year. Like that they were freed up creatively to not try to pretend to be a press conference anymore. Like I think they finally nailed 100% their perfect formula for E3 every year.
Yeah, they're doing amazing things. Overall, as we've discussed, E3, meh. It was cool to see it.
I'm happy it's back, you know? I don't know if that's a compliment, but that's my statement.
Happy it's back. Good to see it. Excited to see more. Here we go.
So
2020.
I have a list. Good. I have some games, Joe. I don't know if you've like really kept track of like the most excited games or the games you saw that you're most excited for. You know what I mean? From E3. So I'll like just like talk just quickly. I'll run through them. Obviously, Metroid Dread is the game I'm most excited for more than anything else. Guardians of the Galaxy blew me away, and I'm very excited.
I'm in with you on that.
I can't believe that my October is so busy. I got Metroid Dread and Guardians both in October coming out, and there's another game that I can't remember.
I've got Far Cry and Guardians coming out. I'm debating picking up that Metroid game too.
Yeah. Halo Infinite, obviously I was already sold on it. And then so the other one that I thought was cool, which I think is still very far away, was Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I thought, that one looked cool. Ubisoft ended their press conference with that one. Then we get more indie stuff. Life is Strange True Colors comes out in September. I'm ecstatic. Oh, the other thing I forgot with that game, what they did not announce, which again, poor communication out of Square, shocking, is that all episodes are available in September. You know how the episodic developers, it's usually like, all right, you got episode 1 here, and 2 months later is episode 2, and a couple months later is 3 or whatever. All 5 episodes of True Colors are releasing at once, which is gigantic news.
Wow.
That they showed at the last showcase, unless they've now backed off on it, and that's why they didn't show it at E3. But the last time they showed off True Colors, they said all the episodes were coming, so they didn't show that off, but that's exciting. Then let's get some quick indie hits here, Joe. Ollie Ollie World, which was it wasn't Skate Bird, because it was like a 2D rail skateboarding game where you played as a bird, and you kind of got combo points and stuff. That one looked really cool. Esports Boxing Club looked freaking awesome. It had it was the most extensive boxing game ever with every big boxer ever, and it looked I wonder how they're going to make an esports scene out of that game, but I'm excited to see. Riders Republic, of course, which we've talked about how excited I am for that, extreme sports. Just hang out and vibe and go down the slopes with my boy Joe, I lost you.
Yeah.
I lost you, Joe.
No, I'm here.
You were just listening?
I was just listening.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then the other one that I'm currently playing now, that I don't think it should count on the list because I've been very excited for like a year and a half now, and it got released during E3, was Dark Deity, which is like it's a Steam game. It's an indie game made in, and it's made in like the style of Fire Emblem games, which I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. The team that made it are also big Fire Emblem fans. And I've been enjoying that. I'm only on chapter 5 so far, so hopefully I can crank that one out and we can talk about it then later. But that's a part of E3, was that it was announced, or it was shown off in one of the pressers, and then it was announced that it was live now on Steam, and then it became the #1 selling game on Steam too, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and here's some of my indie ones real quick. We got Mecha Jammer, we've got Game Deck, we've got Death Trash. I'm really excited. That game looked really fun. This one got announced at E3. I think it became available immediately. Minutes of Island. Gloomwood looked really cool. Silt, Dodgeball Academy. Dodgeball Academia, and Conway Disappearance of Dahlia View. Those all look pretty good. That aren't main hitters. But it was good to be back at E3. And it's good to be talking to you again, Mr. Brown, trying to get back on these tracks that we laid so many years ago.
Hey,
Joe Brown, I don't know if you remember this.
What?
I don't know if you remember this. The first podcast we recorded was literally the day before I was flying out to move to Houston.
Was it really?
It was.
Wow. Wait, but then how did you come back so quick for like Christmas? Remember, because we recorded at your house at like Christmas once, and that was pretty early on.
Yeah, I moved because we recorded in September,
right?
Or October. We recorded in October, and then I came home in December, and we recorded an episode in December.
And then we had the one episode on the episode 8 of Star Wars, and that was like our biggest viewership ever at the time, and we were like freaking out.
Yeah.
Everyone else had like, every episode had like 3 listens, and then that one had like 45 listens, and we were like, oh my god,
oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's been a while. But you know what, Joe, I know it's been troublesome for us to stay on schedule, but if Nintendo can make a new 2D Metroid game for the first time in 19 years, not counting Samus Returns because it was a remake, whatever. Shut up, Joe. If they can do that, then anything's possible, and that means that we can stay on our schedule and try to release this podcast a little more consistently.
We can do it. We put the tracks down. We got this. Let's do it. Choo choo, leaving the station.
Oh god, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it, Joe. I just love Metroid.
I know you do. And as Joe Brown says that he loves Metroid, I'm here to let you guys know we're back. We're going to try to get you episodes weekly, possibly every Friday. We're here to do it. I've been your host, Joe Perrion, followed by my best friend, Joseph Brown, and we've been Cup of Joes, and we'll see you in the next episode.